neighbor. I am the Martian ambassador.
Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 8th day of April. Boom, right through the head. J. Michael McCoy here with Mac's World Live on 99.3. I just can't thank you enough for listening to this radio station and tuning in. Obviously, I'm talking to you because you can hear my voice. We repeatedly have more and more new people finding the radio station, and you won't like everything on the station, just like you won't like everything on the menu at a restaurant, but there will be some things you like. This is local and live every day, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. 3 to 7. I wish. 3 to 5 p.m. Brian Meyer is about to come on here, and Brian and his compadre do a show called Caffeinated Thoughts, and that's on at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. I love hearing you guys. That's a very good show. And
thanks, Mac.
You're welcome. And then noon, we replay one of these live shows. Tamara Scott is live at noon on Sundays. And then I'm going to go back now to Saturdays. Dave Burrier with I Was There. No, not I Was There.
I've Been There.
I've Been There. And that's at 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And if you believe your church, or maybe you are passionate about things in a biblically centered world, and you'd like to have your own show on this station, you could. Don't think for 1 minute that you have to be some big hotshot college broadcast grab like Jeb over there. Are you going to have like a master's in broadcasting? Is that what you've got from Grandview College here this year?
Actually, it'll be a BA in multimedia communications with a focus on corporate communications.
Now, you realize you spend 2 or 3 years in Mac's World, you'll have an equivalency to a PhD.
Well, I hope so. That's the goal, right?
That is the goal. Anybody that's ever had an opportunity to work with me tell you it's a, what would we call that?
Learning experience? Enlightening experience.
Well, learning, yes. But learning the right things? I'm not sure. I think so. No, I'm proud of Jeff.
It's electrifying. How about that?
I'm learning the truth.
Hey, there he is.
Is it electrifying or is it revolting?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. There you go. Good way to say it.
No, I'm proud of Jeb. He's been here. It's just 2 weeks now, and he's caught on. He's doing wonderful. He's learning the business, and it's my goal to take Jeb as far as I can take him, and then pass him on to somebody else who can take him farther. Jeb's a lot like I was at his age, except I didn't have a college education in broadcasting. I had one in journalism. But when you love this business, there's nothing cooler than to work in this business. And this makes me sad, I have way too many friends out there who have it coursing through their veins like I do because the industry has been shrunk by the economy of scale. There are so many good people out there who just aren't working in radio anymore, and that's too bad, but that's the way the bumblebee bounces. That's the way radio is today. All right. Brian Myers, like I said, is my guest. We are supposed to have Congressman Steve King on the phone at the 20-minute break. The only reason I say supposed to is things changes. And if he's in the middle of something and he can't get away and he's dealing with something with his constituency, I would expect him to stay there. But that's the plan right now. And the reason he's coming on, the same reason Brian's on, the Iowa Republicans' role in nominating a presidential candidate, a contested national party convention, will begin taking shape in Saturday. Now, you keep hearing about this contested convention. Contested convention, what does that mean? Are they changing the rules? Are they going to is the establishment going to try to push the people's choice Donald Trump out? Are they smart because they don't think Donald Trump is presidential and it's just foolish to elect him? And we ought to have someone like Cruz, who's at least been a senator, who at least knows the Constitution, who isn't just the most popular guy in the room with the biggest billfold? I don't know yet. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. If you've been listening to this show for some time, I was leaning towards Trump for many weeks. And then it just got too much for me. When he made the comment up in Sioux City that my followers are so loyal that I could go shoot somebody in Manhattan and they'd still vote for me. What I heard was Mac is so naive and ignorant that I have buffaloed him with my smile, and he'd vote for me if I did the worst thing in the world to somebody he loved. And that was it. I caucused for Rubio. But I'm not going to be one of those guys who says, well, if I can't have my candidate, I'm going to take my ball and go home, because I don't agree with those people. And I have really good friends, one on this radio station tonight, Steve Dace, who thinks that way. If his candidate, Cruz, isn't the nominee, he's going to walk and not vote. Now, he would give a very, and he's told me, and it's a convincing argument, why it is Christian, biblical, to walk away and not vote in the fall general election. I don't see it. I don't disagree with him. I just disagree. Well, I guess I disagree with him for me. So I've got to get on board, whoever comes out of this convention in, is it Cleveland, Cincinnati, wherever it is? Cleveland. I've got to get behind the guy, either one of them on one side or the other. I thought the other day, could this actually be the year that I vote for a Democrat for president? Ooh. I have never done that. I first voted in 1968 for Tricky Dick. I'm not a crook. In fact, I've got a Nixon bumper sticker in my office, don't I?
You're a dinosaur, Mac.
I am. But is this the year that I'm finally going to say that the nominee on the Republican side is so inept, so incapable of doing the job? Forget the conservative job or the right, just the job. I mean, if I was Donald Trump and I'm running for president, at some point when I get home, I look at my wife and go, can you believe they're buying this crap? They might elect me president. He's got to think that. Can he be that big of ego that he actually thinks he could be president? I don't know. It's a different time, isn't it, buddy? You and I have been around a lot of elections.
Well, that's true, and this would be the same experience for me, Mac. I have never voted for anybody but the Republican nominee, and if I don't this time around, it's a first, and I will probably do a write-in or something like that.
Chicken, though, but that doesn't help. That still gets Hillary elected.
I don't have a choice, I think. Depending on who ends up at the end of the day, the Republican nominee, it may be that I just can't bring myself to cast my vote for him.
All right. Do you think, and this is not a rhetorical question because I love you, I respect you, I want your answer. Do you think I'm kind of being a little egotistical by saying that my vote has to count?
No, I don't think so.
Because I would rather vote for Hillary than write Mickey Mouse or Chris Roloff which are the same, in the write-in thing.
Yeah, but Mac, here's the thing. You don't want your vote to count in the wrong way. I mean, I'd rather have my vote not count than have it count for somebody that's even more disastrous than the one I'm walking away from.
Well, obviously, depending on what happens in June at that convention, we're going to have this conversation. And for me, as a Jesus freak, it's a moral conversation. It's not a patriotic flag waving, I'm old enough to vote, I get a vote. You know, I've never been to prison and I've done nothing wrong, I get a vote. No, it's going to be a Jesus, what do I do? Now, when I've asked that of pastors, they just laugh and they remind me that God is sovereign and who he wants to have as president, he'll have, even if it's Pharaoh. He'll harden his heart. He'll somehow use whoever that president is to our advantage, to his advantage.
A very smart person said in the hallway of this radio studio, and I believe it was Tamara Scott, she pointed out, the person who gets the nomination or the person who gets elected doesn't get elected just because Mac voted for him or her. They get elected because that's what the people want. Right? This election is about what the majority of people want. Still the way it works. I think as Christians, a lot of us sit around and we beat our heads against the wall and we get really freaked out and we get really scared because we say, what am I going to do? What's my role in this process? What's my vote? And I think what we've done when we do that is we've really become egotistical and said that my vote is so important. Look, if I'm a Christian and I want to, and I really think that John Kasich should be the next president of the United States, I'm going to write his name on the ballot, and I don't care if he's even an option. Why does it? Why And you know, Brian, as well as I know, that it's really not going to matter because that is just one vote. Because at the end of the day, the person that gets elected is elected by the majority.
Right.
So what we're looking at here, and I think the real discussion that I think Christians need to have is, let's look at our country. Look at what the United States wants. It seems that the majority of the United States does not want what most Christians want in a leader. And I think that's the wake-up call that Christians need to hear.
Well, your earlier point about the nature of a vote is something, there's been actually entire articles written about it.
Yeah.
What is the nature of the vote? What is the impact of that vote?
Right.
And there's a lot to that I'm not sure people really have thought through. But I will say this. There's nothing wrong, and I think this goes to what Mac was saying earlier, there's nothing wrong with taking what you're doing seriously when you step into the voting booth and try to make that, as best you can, something that honors Christ. Now, you may obviously have a vote that at the end of the day doesn't count or isn't meaningful, depending on how you judge that. But you still want to go in there and do what you think is right with respect to your conscience and the glorification of God.
All right, 17 and a half after the hour, 4 o'clock. Hopefully we'll come back with Congressman King. Otherwise, we'll continue to talk about the convention this weekend and the big elections this weekend in Michigan and Colorado. It's coming up live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza, and it's got Graziano sausage.
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Gotta make my mind up. Cannot take. It's Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking for
minutes after 4 o'clock. That's our new Friday jingle. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. 8th day of April in the Lord's year 2016. I have to admit.
I'm gonna go with you, Mac. That made me feel good. Thank you.
That was good.
And this is again all save freak band.
No.
I don't think that was the all save freak band from the 1970s or whatever it was. No,
I don't think so.
This was Rebecca Black. Friday came out September 16th in 2011. Had 92 million views on YouTube.
It's a cute little video. All right, speaking of cute, let's go to the phones where Congressman Steve King is standing by. Steve, how are you, friend? Thanks for calling in.
I'm doing fine. Thanks a lot for having me on, man.
Good. Am I the first person today that called you cute?
You're the first person maybe in the last couple decades that's just so.
Well, every time I see you, I think you're cute, if that's okay to say. All right, let's get right to the business. The Republicans in Iowa are gathering tomorrow for the convention. For what reason?
Well, it's our district conventions in each of the 4 congressional districts, and we will elect 4 members from each district to the Central Committee that will run and govern the state party for the next couple of years. And while we're doing that, we'll also elect some of the delegates that will go to the National Convention in Cleveland. And some of those people that will be elected tomorrow will be, their first ballot will be cast automatically according to the rule. But if there is a second or subsequent ballot, that will be their discretion that is endorsed by the people that elect them tomorrow. So the history of the world could actually be directly affected in any one of the congressional districts tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually said Congressman Steve King's on the phone along with us, Brian Myers and Chris Roloff and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and Jeb producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy. I actually said that, the sizzle was the caucuses, but this is really the steak. This is where Iowa will walk into Ohio and make a big difference.
Well, it is. And, if we have a delegation there that of course, weighs in, and this could be the kind of ballot. Right now, the pundits are saying that they think that Donald Trump, or that the handicap number would be about 44 votes short of the 1237 necessary on the first ballot. That's their projection. That's actually Fox News' projection. I think that it'll be more than that. I think Ted Cruz will be stronger than that. But in any case, the pundits are saying it'll go to a second and perhaps more than 2 ballots. And so these delegates will be the ones that decide who is the nominee. And that means on a per capita basis, they've got a lot to say about who could very well be the next president of the United States.
Congressman, talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. How do I become a delegate coming out of tomorrow's district conventions?
Well, you need someone who will nominate you and second your nomination from the floor at the delegate convention.
I got Chris and Frank. I've got that covered.
You got enough people in that studio to maybe get elected, man.
There you go.
But that's the process, and you know how it is, though. When you have a meeting like that, the time to organize isn't after the gavel falls to start the meeting. You need to do your work before you get there.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, I know. It just kind of doing your homework. It might put you at odds with success here. But what amounts to, though, is that we have people out there, candidates out there that have been campaigning and sending messages out to all those that will be there at the district convention and have the voting delegates there. And they make their argument. Most of them will say who they're for president and what they believe in. And there will be some rewards for people who have, I'll put it this way, carried a lot of water to the elephant.
Yep.
Have also stood on solid principle.
All right, then those district winners go to a state convention, or they go to their directly quick trip to Ohio?
Theirs is a quick trip to Ohio, to Cleveland for the July 27th convention.
All right.
And but that's only part of them. That's going to be 12 delegates out of the overall 30 that Iowa gets. So there's 3 from each congressional district that'll be elected tomorrow. That dozen then goes to Cleveland, and then at the state convention later on in May, then there will be another 18 that'll be elected at large from the overall state convention delegates, and they will also go to Cleveland. That'll match up 12 and 18 is, we know 30, and that's the number for Iowa delegates.
Congressman Steve King is our guest today on the phone. Brian Myers in the house along with Chris Roloff, Bob Montserrat, and I'm J. Michael McCoy. Jeb is producing. You said something a minute ago, Steve. You said they might get up there and say who they're for. Could I be elected a delegate if I got up and said, I don't know who I'm for yet?
Well, it might be a little tough.
Okay,
if
so
you
it
say
really
you're for
is.
Bernie, you're out of luck, though, Mac. I guarantee you that.
All right. Now, what if somebody gets up and says they're for Kasich or Rubio or Jeb Bush?
Well, if they say they're for Rubio or Jeb Bush, I think they have a lot of difficulty getting elected because those fellows have been in and now they're out. And also, actually, for Kasich, because they have written a rule into this that you had to have won 8 states in order to qualify for the nomination. So that really only leaves Cruz and Trump that are the 2 viable candidates.
Has Cruz won 8?
I think so. Although I haven't counted, he will have by then.
Okay,
at least.
Brian.
Yeah,
and he's won more states in the last since March 15th. Well, he's won more delegates since March 15th than Trump has.
Okay.
Congressman King, you mentioned earlier, I think that Fox News had the margin of 30 delegates. Did you say?
44 that he would be short.
Okay, 44. I think the last number I saw was 74. I take it that you think that number will be larger than 44 as well.
I do. I like the 74 better, and I say this because I get a bit of a look into the internal polling numbers that go on and the campaign strategy, and I think Cruz is going to be stronger going forward than they're predicting. And I watched Bill Hammer go down through there and just touch the buttons of the states, and it seemed to me that he was flipping the toggle switch Trump's way in places where I wouldn't. So I think 44 is as close as it will be. It's that or probably a bigger difference than 44.
I mean, either way, it's a smaller margin that I'm really comfortable with, but I'd rather see that number larger than not.
Yes, that's for sure. And here's another thing to think about is that each one of these delegates that go, and there are over 2,400 delegates, and then that many alternates again, and they'll be polled. The campaigns will be calling them, communicating with them, talking to their organizers, and they'll know whether these are Trump delegates, Cruz delegates, or perhaps somebody else. And then by time everybody gets to Cleveland, there will be a judgment that will be probably come out in the news of how many delegates support Cruz versus how many support Trump. And there is a possibility that a Donald Trump could win the nomination on the first automatic ballot, and that these delegates don't get cast. And yet we might all know that there could be several hundred of those delegates that would have voted for Cruz if given the chance. We could be nominating somebody that doesn't have the support of the majority of the delegates in Cleveland.
Wow.
That's a possibility.
Congressman Steve King on the radio. First thing, your cousin Jill, who's listening, said hi.
Hey, that is a good deal. Now, I'll save that up back for her when I get to see her.
Isn't she a sweetheart?
Yes, she is.
The second thing...
Lines too.
The second thing is we hear some shenanigans maybe going on behind the scenes in the Republican Party to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't come anywhere close to the nomination. Can you describe for me what those shenanigans may be, or am I just listening to way too many unqualified blogs?
Yeah, I don't know how much we can predict for shenanigans. That you're going to have probably greater.
No, that's Steve's phone.
We must have lost him.
Yeah. Steve, can you hear me? All right. Well, we lost him. The neat things about cell phones are the fact that you can call from almost anywhere. And the bad things about cell phones, the word is almost anywhere. And
can you hear me now?
He must have driven through the almost. He's calling back right now, so we will have him on again.
Can someone explain to me, you had a big reaction to what he said there at the end about what could happen in Cleveland. Can you help me understand why you wowed at that? What did he say that made you wow to that?
Because he said Trump could win the nomination
on the first ballot in a situation in which the majority of delegates really didn't support him in the way he had in that scenario. All right, Steve King's back. Steve, we lost you for just a second. So you were talking about that maybe I was incorrect in framing this as shenanigans going on behind the scenes?
Well, I say that because there is an effort to configure a plan that might change the rules in such a way that it would advantage or open the door up to bring somebody else in. And the discussions that are going on out there, I think they ought to cut it out. It's okay for them to sit and to plan and to strategize, but not to plot. And so I think that the most likely scenario is that Trump or Cruz will be the nominee, and 70 or more % of the delegates there that will be supporting Trump or Cruz. It could well be more. By the time we get there, we could find that 90-some % of them are Cruz or Trump delegates. Then they're not going to accept a rules change that comes from the outside that disadvantages either one. And so I don't think there are going to be real shenanigans take place that way, but we need to be prepared for that. And so what I said is this, that we need to support the nominee that's produced by the rules that we agreed to play by at the beginning of this race. And then if we do that and come together behind him, if we don't like the result of those rules, then we can change the rules for the next nomination. But we should not be changing the rules at the convention to advantage or disadvantage any candidate. That's not a representative process.
All right, I want to ask you a question, and I honor you, and you know that no comment is an acceptable answer on this question, Steve. Seriously.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
There is a former Trump communications worker who quit and then wrote a blog that in the beginning of the Trump campaign, the only reason he was doing it was to screw up the Republicans and make sure Hillary not only got the nomination but won the White House.
Oof.
Remember, no comment is fine. You're a city congressman.
Well, I would just say that that's a pretty heavy charge. I wasn't aware that blog was even out there. But when you watch a person conduct themselves in the way that Trump has, I know he's a WWE guy, and he might even be a Hall of Famer with WWE, but that takes a lot of acting skills to drive this long, this hard, if that's your objective in the first place. So I guess let's let history let that one play out, but that stretches pretty far for me to think that it would be credible, Mac.
If we went back to the Iowa State Fair when you and I were walking around the fairgrounds and it's 95 degrees, and I would have said to you, I hear Trump's really serious about getting in the race, what would you have said?
Well, I think by then it'd have to be probably a year ago, August. Then I'd say that would not surprise me. He had put his toe in the water in the past. It was last April when I said I was in South Carolina at an event down there, and I told the press then, Trump's in, I know he's in. And that was the first message into the press that Trump would be a candidate. That turned out to be true, and he announced his campaign on June 16th.
Yeah.
A couple of months later. So I think he's wanted to be president for a long time, and what the Trump phenomenon is not so much that he decided to run, it's that he's been as successful this far that he has been.
All right, Congressman King, I appreciate you being with us. I promised Andrea that I would honor your time commitment, and you have given us some time on the road. I thank you very much. You are welcome in Mac's World anytime you want, and we love you here in Iowa. Thank you for serving this great state.
Happy to be in Mac's World, and I'm happy to hear about my cousin Jill. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Congressman. Say hi to Andrea for me. All right, we're going to come up on our third break, and we'll be coming back. We'll continue to talk about what's going on in the delegates in Iowa tomorrow in your presidential election.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Hey, I got this, you got this. Now you know it. Kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat. Gotta make my mind up. Which seat can I take? It's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday.
4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Where I told you Fridays are crazy, 15% more fun. We got a new producer who looks on YouTube and finds songs that are relevant to what we're talking about. Who does that make you think of? No? Bradshaw did that. Bradshaw would take what we were going to talk about coming up in the next segment. He'd go out and find a song that was relatable, and then he'd play that song as our bumper song.
So you're saying this song was related, this one that we just heard, and
Yeah.
I have no idea what she was saying?
It's Friday. She was saying it's Friday.
Oh.
You didn't hear that?
I just don't hear that.
Don't you, bring it up again.
That jungle music.
Bob's hard of hearing. You play it a little, and then I got Demetrius holding. I want to bring him up. It's Friday.
We're gonna have a ball today, tomorrow.
Friday. Here? All right, Bob's deaf. Okay, never mind. Cut it. 515-244-0077. That's the number you can call to get on the air. It's your voice I want to hear. Demetrius, you are live in Mac's World. How you doing today, Demetrius?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
First-time caller. I'm good.
Thank you for calling.
Hey, gladly. I was curious because I understand, being a conservative, as you guys are, that there's a problem when we appear to have Trump as the leading candidate for the Republican Party, and yet we look across the aisle and we see the choice of Hillary or Bernie, and you talk about the lesser of two or three evils. Why? I'm curious if you guys are knowledgeable about the Constitution Party and the Christian values which the candidates uphold.
I am only familiar with the Constitution Party because I'm on the radio and I know there is one. But I'll honestly tell you, I apologize. I don't know the name of the candidate.
No need to apologize. But they're definitely worth researching. They haven't actually picked a candidate. There's three gentlemen, one of whom is a Baptist preacher, I believe. But they all hold life as precious. And when in the last election, there was, I believe it was a Virginia senator named Virgil Good, whose voting record I researched, and it was consistently pro-life. He had consistently taken the stand of the Bible is God's word, of Jesus Christ as our only way of salvation. And I believe all the other candidates, they haven't picked one yet. Here in the spring, they're going to actually pick their candidate. These are Christ-pointing men. And I see this as really the only viable option in light of the current presidential candidate issue that we have currently.
Well, and Demetrius, I would like to talk to that candidate and meet them when the time comes. I really will. I will tell you something, then you're a first-time listener, first-time caller, and I appreciate that. We are a radio station that talks about the truth. We just happen to do it through a biblical worldview. We're not a Christian radio station. We are a biblically centered radio station, which does make us a Jesus freak or Christ follower or Christian or, in Chris's case, a Presbyterian. But don't get... What are you two? Are you Presbyterian too? Wow.
You're surrounded, Mac.
I'm not surrounded. Just two of the ugly guys in front of me are Presbyterians. Bob's not a Presbyterian. He's
No, wait a minute. What?
Wait. Well, let me just
Steve
finish.
King is cute and I'm ugly? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. This is the truth. 99.3. But anyway, Demetrius, I appreciate you calling. But don't just assume, because someone steps up and says, well, I'm a Christian, that they get my business, they get my vote, they get my support. There are a tremendous amount of Jesus followers out there under a lot of denominations, a lot of different flags. And all I care is that you wrap your arms around the ankles of Jesus when they're tied to the cross and nailed to the cross, and you weep for his blood because you know it's grace that has set you free. Everything else other than that is not essential. So politics, whatever it is, I know Cruz is a evangelical Christian. I didn't caucus for him, and I will vote for him if he's the candidate. But so anyway, appreciate that, Demetrius. Just so you know that. By the way, there is a guy that I know who works very hard for myself and my friends and my family when it comes to real estate. Maybe you're like me and you buy and sell a lot of real estate. Maybe you're about to buy your first house or your retirement home, and you don't know who to use because you got somebody in the Bible study that's in real estate, and they've always wanted your business. And then there's that lady at church who goes to the tea and crumpets with you, and she wants your business. No offense against friends in real estate, but friends in real estate don't work. It's like friends and family. It doesn't really work. Hire a professional. My professional's name is Seth Walker, and his number is 515-577-3728. When you go to look at a house, buy a house, sell a house, or just want to find out about a school district in a community you're thinking about moving to, call the professional. Seth Walker, 515-577-3728. All right, 17 minutes before the top of the hour. Tomorrow is a big day in the state of Iowa. You thought the caucuses were a big deal. We go to convention tomorrow, where eventually we'll have 30 delegates from the state of Iowa that will go to the convention and determine who our Republican nominee is. Tomorrow is an important day. Now, unfortunately, if you didn't know that tomorrow was tomorrow, I mean, I know you know tomorrow was tomorrow because Annie sings about it. Tomorrow will always, tomorrow. What's wrong, Brian? You don't like my...
I just was trying to wrap my mind around knowing that tomorrow is tomorrow.
Yeah, because Annie tells me so. So there's nothing you can do. You. It's too late. It's like Steve King said a minute ago on the phone. If you haven't done your homework and you're not already planning to go to the convention, there's not much you can do. But watch what happens tomorrow, because it's going to determine which way Iowa will go. Right now, Iowa is a Ted Cruz state because he won the caucuses. Will he be the guy that grabs tomorrow will be 12 delegates, and the other 18 will come when the Iowa convention happens in June? So the question you have to ask yourself, and I asked Steve King this, are there shenanigans going on behind the scenes of not only the district conventions, but the state conventions and the national conventions? Do you trust your elected officials who are getting ready to set up the Republican nominee? Chris, you've been here for 6 years? 7 years?
Yep, 6 years. In January was 6.
First time around, you didn't even probably give the elections any thought.
Well, I had just landed in the great state of Iowa, and being from Texas, a very Republican state, I wasn't involved in national politics, really, or local politics, because we were pretty late voting in the primary and conservative state and all that kind of stuff. But when I moved to Iowa, I could tell it was a really big deal, and I wasn't very informed, to be honest with you. So this time around, I felt like I was more informed than I'd been before. I think 4 years from now, I'll be even more informed, which is a great benefit to living in the state of Iowa. People here take politics really seriously, dig in, and really do think and talk about it in depth and with seriousness. So, so 4 years ago, I didn't do anything. And this time I participated in the caucus. And to be honest with you, am more scared at this point for how crazy this thing works than ever before.
All right, so the question I was going to ask you and maybe you just answered it using the word scared. Are you more trusting or less trusting of politically and elected officials?
Well, one of the things I learned, here's my answer.
Brian, that question comes to you in a minute.
One of the things I learned this year in particular is that I think federal politics or national politics, as we say, matter far less than local. I think that what has woken me up this past year is that I need to be more involved in what's going on in the city in which I live. I think that all the people right now that stand a chance of becoming the president of the United States are going to destroy the country and continue it down the direction it's been going. I don't really see any real hope in any of the nominees right now. So I think the solution is to dig in my local church and to dig in my local community and be involved on the ground.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask that same question to Bob Montserrat and Mr. Myers and Mr. Jeb and you. Pick up the phone. I want to know what you think. 515-244-0077. If you don't want to have your voice heard, but you want to have your opinion stated, give us a call on the Service Legends Truth text line at 515-809-0993. Coming back live on a Friday on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for the opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm all about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, bass.
Take a picture of Chris Rolla
yeah, it's
dancing.
Pretty clear. I ain't no size 2, but I can shake it,
All right,
like
10 minutes.
I'm supposed to do. 'Cause I got that boom,
The bass is
boom,
too
that all
loud.
the boys
I can't hear myself
take.
think. 10 minutes before 5, but we're just playing with the bumper music today. If it's irritating to you, I'm sorry, just having fun. You know, life's just too serious. I'm serious here for a minute. Life is too serious. Paying taxes, junk mail, people on the TV getting paid millions of dollars to tell me what I think I ought to think about. I'm going to a funeral. I'm going to a funeral tomorrow of a 29-year-old man who, if I had introduced him to you, Brian, you'd say, oh, that's an up-and-comer. That's a sharp young man, well-dressed, well-spoken, well-educated. died of a heroin overdose in his bathroom while his 2-year-old daughter watched him die and then sat there in the bathroom with him for 2 days until they found him. 2-year-old. No diaper change, no water, no nothing. So do you really think it's that important that we're voting when we have a 29-year-old well-educated man being buried tomorrow because he was a heroin addict? See, everybody thinks alcoholics and drug addicts and heroin addicts and all those people are strange people that live under the bridge that you don't know. I'll guarantee you, somebody in your church this Sunday was or is an alcoholic. I'll guarantee you, somebody sitting in your church this Sunday was a drug addict or is a drug addict. I guarantee you, somebody sitting in your church this Sunday is having an affair, an adulterous extramarital affair. Who do you think goes to church? Sinners. Some that are saved, some that are seeking. So let's remember what's important. Okay? Let's really remember what's important. When I sit in that funeral tomorrow and I see a 2-year-old daughter that's lost her father to a heroin addiction. He was a year clean a month ago. He was a year clean and sober. All right, back to what we're talking about. I asked Chris if things had changed about you. I've got a little bit different of a question for you, Brian. After meeting all the candidates, or most of the candidates, talking to some of them, interviewing a lot of them, being on the radio every week for an hour with caffeinated thoughts at 8 o'clock in the morning, what do you really think of Shane Vanderhart?
He jokes about that. You try to get him in trouble every time.
Have I asked you that before?
Yes. Shane rocks.
Why don't you answer it?
Shane rocks.
I want the truth, Pinocchio.
You can't handle the truth. No, Shane's awesome.
Right, you've always lived in Iowa, right?
Pretty much.
So are you jagged? No. What's the word?
Jaded.
Jaded. Thank you. Are you jaded to the political system?
I'm really not. I probably should be very.
Has it changed since you started doing the radio show, though?
No.
Okay.
No. I will say this. I was very disappointed this year. And I know we see it every year or every political cycle. But I was very disappointed this year to see some of the candidates who I respected so much and who made what I thought were credible professions of faith in Christ.
Yeah.
Absolutely shooting at each other with every dirty bomb known to mankind.
Yeah.
That bothered me.
Yeah.
And look, here's the other thing, Mac. I know if you're running for that office, you got to be a narcissist. It's part of the job description. I mean, seriously.
Oh, no, I agree with you 100%.
If you're going to run for that office,
any office or that office?
Well, certainly that one.
Okay.
You have to have a certain level of narcissism. It's a job requirement. And so I have a certain amount of skepticism towards these guys, but still, at the end of the day, most of them that I met or read about or spoke to, I was fairly impressed with what I thought were sincere views about issues and policies that I very much cared about. So even after all these years, I still, generally speaking, am not totally cynical of the process.
Chris, you said something a little bit ago that I think is powerful that we need to say. And I don't think you came up with this, but you quoted it. Tamara Scott, I think, said it.
Yes.
That the people in Washington really don't care who's in office as long as it's a D or an R. But if it's not an establishment candidate,
that wasn't Tamara. That was the gal that you had posted. She was a Fox News reporter.
Okay.
The judge gal.
Because the D and the R really don't care. They're just going to play this game. They're going to do this dance. One moment the R is the leader, the next moment the D is the leader. But at the end of the day, they all get paid a ton. They get their vacation a lot. They get expense accounts that are ridiculous. They eat the finest food and they're a celebrity and they'll retire a millionaire. So who sits in the White House doesn't matter unless it's Donald Trump.
Right.
Because Trump is going to change everything. I don't know if for the good. I've always said I want to find a business tycoon to run this country. Be careful what you wish for because it may come true. I think it's appalling, absolutely appalling, the way he treats other people. But as you said, Brian, I can't do that job. So maybe I shouldn't judge what type of character it takes to do that job. Maybe it takes somebody that's willing to look at a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz or a Jeb Bush or a whoever it is and say, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You have no place on this debate stand with a guy like me because I've been around the block and I know what I'm... If you're going to come up here on the big porch and play with the dogs, you better learn how to do it right, Sonny.
I don't know, Mac. At first, I thought Donald Trump, frankly, was entertainment material. And then it wasn't long after that I realized I was completely wrong. People were taking him very seriously.
Yeah.
And he was going to go the distance. It shocked me, frankly, because I don't think this guy is prepared to be the president of the United States. I do not think he should be the president of the United States.
Or has the United States fallen so low that only somebody like him could be the president?
Well, I think really, what's the bottom line with Donald Trump? There's a lot of people that are so frustrated they want to see Washington, D.C. burned down, and they think he's the guy that will do that. That's really what it boils down to.
I think Brian, you're absolutely right. I think Donald Trump is a burn down the White House kind of vote. I mean, not literally, obviously, but I think that's what people want. They want something radically different.
Yeah. Yep.
Bernie Sanders is sweeping the Democratic Party for the same reason.
Yeah.
He is radically different than anything we've ever seen before.
Superdelegates give him no chance. If you're a Bernie Sanders fan, listen to me, please. I love you. I'm going to tell you the truth here. This is not sarcasm and it's not radio. If you or somebody you know is a Bernie Sanders fan, I'm sorry. There's no way Hillary Clinton's going to let him get the nomination. It's called superdelegates. If you don't know what those are, Google them. It's been predestined for you Presbyterians. It's been decided in the Democratic Party. She didn't get it 8 years ago. She's going to get it this time. We'll have to watch and see what the Iowa convention does this weekend to figure out where the delegates begin to fall for Iowa. Michigan and Colorado vote this week. It's going to be a big deal. Brian Myers, thank you. Chris Roloff, thank you. Bob Montserrat, thank you. Jeb, thank you very much. Second week. You're doing great, buddy. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. You know what I'm going to ask you to do next? Don't touch that dial. You've got somebody in the back of your head that you will not forgive. What they did to you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 60 years ago is unforgivable. Well, remember, as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. It's in the good book. I'll see you at church.